Hey, Patrick, how you doing, bud?
Not too bad at all. So what have you for me today?
Well, we have Andrew Branca on the Andrew
Okay.
Branca Show, formerly The Law of Self-Defense. He wants to talk about the state income tax of Washington State, something your girl Brandy Cruz from Undivided has been on. But I wanted to get something a little more concise. We might actually visit Brandy Cruz in the next few days based on a lot of the decisions that are coming out of Washington State. And it's not great.
No, for everyone who's listening, this is a state income tax separate from their federal income tax. So bear that in mind.
9.9% income tax on $1 million plus, but Mr. Branca, the counselor here, will definitely tell us a little bit about that. So let's let him cook.
Okay.
This just happened. Breaking. Washington State passes their first ever income tax. Incomes over $1 million a year will be taxed at 10%. Married couples share a single $1 million exemption. So if their combined incomes are more than $1 million, you're getting taxed. This will obviously eventually extend below $1 million. State comes for others. They'll eventually come for you. Rest in peace, Washington State. And look how happy.
So this is in violation of the Fifth Amendment initially, except that the 16th Amendment, which was passed in February of 1913, which allowed a federal income tax to happen, was also designed to just hit, in quotes, those who were of wealth, right? So almost every American citizen, as of 2026, pays income tax. In fact, we pay income tax every check that we get from our employer. So some certain percentage is withheld from your check, so you don't even see it. So what's happening is the federal government is getting your money, and then they are getting the interest on your money until April the 15th, or whenever you file your taxes from the 1st of January to the 15th of April. They don't owe you that interest back. They just owe you the money, right? So they get to use your money from the 1st of January this year until April 15th of next year to earn whatever they can on it, and they're not due to pay that back to you. The state of California has a 13.3 to 14% income tax, and now Washington has decided to get in on the fun, right?
Now, under federal, so there's a federal, what's the federal rate, roughly?
0 to 36%.
Right, so it's a scaling metric, okay. And do states in the United States have the right to raise taxes as they see fit?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
But many states don't have a state income tax. Very few states do, actually.
Yeah, but as we know, and we definitely know in Ireland, once they bring in a tax, they very rarely take it back.
Well, not just not take it back. It doesn't do what it says it's going to. We have a short-term tax. We just need a little bit of money. And then the government gets drunk on your money, and then they just want more, right?
I remember back in 2008, going into 2009 budget, they brought in a thing called a universal tax here in Ireland, USC. By the way, as a short-term measure, guess what? That's still here. We still take it. It still comes out of our paycheck every week.
So the state of California
whenever we get paid.
Also about to impose. Right now, there's a transfer property tax that's about $1,100 or $1,200. It's not going to break the bank. So the state of California decided they're going to pass a law that says that the transfer tax is now going to be $60,000 for every house that is sold. Yeah, that is an insane amount of money, right? I can see a little bit of money for, I don't know, bureaucratic or some processing thing, like we need to pay people who work for the assessor's office to do a thing with your that's fine. I don't mind that. A little bit of tax, meh. But the problem is that it sticks and it gets bigger, right?
Yes.
These taxes are like a metastasizing cancer, and they just keep taking and taking and taking. Functionally, if you are an individual of means in the state of California, over 50% of your income is going to taxes.
And I see it over here in Ireland all the time. Once they bring in a tax, they've never taken it back. Never.
Well, at least they're consistent, right?
I presume over there is the same. Once they bring in the tax, it doesn't get rolled back.
Yeah, the short-term tax that came into effect in February of 1913, 113 years later, is still
there. Yeah,
it's still there, and not only that, by 1914 or 1915, it was getting down to everybody, right?
Yes.
So That's pretty bad. So for over 105, 106 years, everybody, and then, or I forget what year it was when they started doing the withholding on all of your checks. Employers are forced to withhold that money. Employers cannot not take your money out of every check you get.
Yes, employers over here have the same responsibility as well under the law. Yeah. They have to withhold a certain amount of employee tax, PRSI and so on. We have exactly the same situation here.
Not
but
great.
I think what Democrats don't realize, bringing in this tax, as you rightly pointed out, it'll always flow downhill. It will have hit every single person in their pocketbook at the end of the day. Maybe might be next year or the year after, but once a tax like this comes in, it's a very slippery slope very quickly.
Right. So what happens with these is the state budgets an expected return based on the people who filed the income tax, right? So we expect we'll get, I don't know, say $8 billion, just some wild ass number. I don't know how close that is to accurate. So if we tax all these people, we'll get $1 billion. Cool. So then what happens is in the United States, since people can move out of state, they just leave.
Yep.
Right. So
shocking how that works out.
Right. So if you make $1 million, so now you have to pay 10% of your $1 million. You have to give them $100,000. How long do you think somebody's going to stay sat if you're like, hey, we're going to go ahead and take 10% of your income? They're going to leave because they have the capacity to do so. They're just going to be like, yeah, I'm out. And then
I'm not dealing with this.
Right. Then it reduces the amount of money on the expected return on the balance sheet. So then they say, well, we're going to have to lower. Now we're going to drop it to $750,000, right? So now I want $75,000 from you, $750,000 people, understanding that the people who are in those ranges are already paying 36% federal income tax. So what you're saying is at $750,000, you should pay $400,000 in taxes.
Yes.
That's insane. And it's going to keep dropping and dropping and dropping, just like the federal income tax did, to make sure that they can go ahead and get everybody in the loop. Right, to make sure that their balance sheet says we're getting X dollars and we're going to spend based on this, and they don't get that, so then they have to tax more to get the balance sheet to have the ledgers be equal. Right? It's bad. It's bad. So, all right, here we go.
These female ethnic legislators they're so ecstatic. They're so ecstatic. Chamath Palihapte, I don't know who this is, but here's what a tax like this does. It excites people with zero agency and infinite envy. Beware of people like that. They have the power to steal from you.
Right. Because they have the power to take from you, they will continue to exercise that power. So they're showing no restraint at all. What they're saying is I see you have money, so I'm going to take it from you. I'm going to use a legal mechanism to effect a taking, again, in violation of the Fifth Amendment, right? Which the 16th Amendment also is, but it's been ratified and it's part of the Constitution now. But they're just going to continue to take because they can, right? People who can, in a situation, vote to take will continue to vote to take, right? They just will, right? Because, go ahead.
But the problem is, the more you squeeze an economy like this, the worse economy gets.
Right.
Because what they don't realize, you need money in your economy to keep the engine going. You need people to go out and buy their groceries, fill up their tank,
right,
and so on.
Well, and this has to do with the acceleration of money, right? So money accelerates every time it's used in a transaction.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
If you have less money accelerating through the system, then you have less deals being brokered between people. Less deals you have being brokered between people, the less movement your economy has and the less people are making. So then the less people are making money, they want the 10%, right?
Yes.
So functionally, this is a tie to the state, and they're not going to say no.
Yeah, and that's a massive problem for any economy. You can never tax your way out of a deficit, no matter what your budget is.
Right.
You can
and
grow
I guarantee people are going to vote with their feet. They're just going to get the hell out. They're going to be like, hey, it sure is beautiful here. We're gone. See ya. And
to be honest, I don't blame them. Do not blame them. If there's another option where if you stay here, you're already, as you say, paying 36% tax. Why would I stay in a place where I have to pay another, say, 10, maybe 15% on top?
Better get a smart CPA. So, all right, here we go.
It will keep middle class people firmly in the middle with no real chance of getting wealthy if they stay in Washington state. It should be clear that this is the strategy. Learned helplessness of the electorate will keep Washington state's current elected officials in office. 3, it will never allow the upwardly mobile to build any assets or real wealth unless they move out of the state.
Right. They're gonna vote with their feet, and they're going to go to a place where they can more effectively accelerate their money to get into those deals with other people to make the economy move. So not only are they not going to be there to make that economy move, they're going to be making another economy move, which is probably and more than likely going to cause a recession in Washington state. Serious recession. Like almost immediately, like within 2 years of this tax.
I would say, yeah, I would actually agree with you. 2 to 3 years, definitely.
Tapping
Like more
the
and more.
American dream is a dystopian and malevolent scheme. It cannot be a valid strategy.
I just want to hear him say that because that's really cool. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is, you'll see there later on in this video. Like when you have big businesses, they're going to sit down and look at their balance sheet. 10% doesn't, on paper, or 9% in this case, doesn't seem like much. But if you're working with hundreds of millions going through your business every year, that's a big chunk of change. Now, if you go to another state and it's got 0% tax, you can keep those hundreds of billions to yourself. And,
right.
and
on
obviously,
top of that,
obviously reinvest it back into your business and grow it and so on.
Right. And on top of that, franchise owners and those who are high up in your company are not going to want to live there.
No.
Right. So you're going to lose your talent base as well because the talent base is going to leave. So not only can
that's what happened. That the reason why the Irish economy did so well, said from the 1990s up to 2008, and now is still tipping away nicely, is because of our corporation tax, our low corporation tax, and so on. In order to bring businesses in, you need lower tax rates.
Right.
Because that's what big businesses operate as.
Right.
They'll go where they can save money 100%. And tax friendly as well. But it has but it also has a very positive benefit as well. Because I'm going to use Apple, for instance, in Cork. There's over 5,000 people, roughly over 5,000 people employed by Apple in Cork City and surrounding jobs. Now, they also support roughly another 10,000 on top, local coffee shops, supermarkets, and so on. And the only reason Apple is in Cork, we're not fooling ourselves for any. One is our education system, yes, but it is also down to our corporation tax and then being a tax-friendly country when it comes to corporations. Now, what our Washington State is going to do is they're going to drive all our big companies somewhere else.
For sure. Yeah, that's what that does. If you become unfriendly, even in just social situations, people will avoid you, right? If I don't wash, nobody's going to be around me, right? If I go around mugging you for 10% of your wallet, every time I see you, you're going to be like, I'm not going to be around that guy. He keeps taking these $5 and $10 bills like right out of my wallet.
He keeps putting his hand in my pocket.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uncomfortable. Nobody wants the government's hands in your pocket. The United States is pretty bad about that. They're pretty deep in the pocket since February of 1913, which also caused later on in that year the Federal Reserve to be created, and that is gross. So, all right, here we go.
But unless droves of middle and upper middle class people leave Washington State, this strategy will win. Well, they're going to leave. In fact, we're already seeing them leave. This because they're free to leave. The blue states like to pretend that no one's going to leave. You have a duty. You have a patriotic duty to pay these taxes. But people won't pay. People
will
leave. They will go away.
Yes.
Bye.
They have the ability to pack up their truck and just drive down the road somewhere else.
Yeah.
They have the money to do it. And they like their money, so they're going to move somewhere where they can keep most of their money.
You ever heard of
by the way, that's human nature in general.
You ever heard of U-Haul?
Yes.
So in the United States, we have a company called U-Haul, and they track the people that leave states. California has had, in the last decade, a massive diaspora. They've just been leaving in droves. So many more U-Haul vehicles have left the state than have come in. It is insane. Really bad. So if you think they're not going to leave, check the U-Haul statistics 1 year from the date that they pass this. You will be shocked because they're going to leave. right? They're gone.
Yeah.
Will leave. Washington State was a no-income tax haven, fueling Amazon, Microsoft, Starbucks. And now Democrats have pushed this 10% state income tax. What do you think those companies are going to do? Well, we can see what they're going to do. Hours after Washington State Democrats pass the income tax, Starbucks founder Howard Schultz announces he's moving out of Washington State.
I don't think that's a coincidence, Patrick. I do not think that's a
No,
coincidence.
no. The minute you bring it in, he suddenly decides to leave the state.
Time to go to Florida, where they don't have the taxes. All right.
To Florida. And he's got a lengthy letter about how he's doing it for retirement, but the timing is kind of weird, right? Starbucks founder
It's doing
Howard
it for
Schultz
retirement.
announces that his family is leaving Seattle for Florida the same day Democrats pass an income tax on Washington State. Their corporate headquarters is moving, Starbucks corporate headquarters is moving to Nashville.
Ooh, you want to guess how much state tax they have there? You want to
Zero.
guess? Well, let's find out.
You know what the state income tax is in Nashville? The whole state of Tennessee? Nothing. Tennessee has no state income at all on anybody. The wealth exodus is underway. Democrats have killed Washington's economy. And
Wouldn't mind moving there
Herman,
myself.
Where, Tennessee or Washington State?
Oh, Tennessee.
Oh, you would die. It gets real hot there in the summer, and they have humidity. To the
Hey,
point where
we get hot over here too. We have summers. We have sunshine sometimes.
7 days a year, bro. It's over 100 degrees there, and it's hot and wet.
Right.
It's gross. It's like walking into a wet blanket. It's horrible. Super.
Well, I don't want. I might suck it up if I had more money in my pocket.
It's not going to be enough money, and your bill for power for running your air conditioning would be insane, right? 100 degrees Fahrenheit is nothing to mess around with, sir. Nothing.
Taz writes, you cannot find a stronger libtard in the corporate world than this guy Schultz. Yet here he is like a rat jumping from a ship that he helped set on fire. Like a plague rat, he'll bring his leftist pestilence to Florida. Isn't that what they do? Meanwhile, other stuff they're also doing in Washington State, because it's all a scheme to take all your money. You will own nothing and be happy. In Olympia, the capital of Washington, they're raiding the pension funds for law enforcement and firefighters. They're passing this unconstitutional income tax.
Right. So he says it's an unconstitutional income tax. It's because, again, it's a violation of the Fifth Amendment. It is a taking. But the other thing is that a law enforcement agency has a union. That union has a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, with whatever state, county, city, whatever agency or whatever jurisdiction it's in, right? And every time you get a raise, what they do is they set aside a certain amount for retiree medical or retired pension funds and all other kinds of things, right? So what will happen is say you get a 3% raise, 1% goes to medical, 1% goes to retirees, 0.5% goes to this, and then you only actually realize 0.5% as a raise, right? But again, those funds are managed, and then they can grab where those funds are managed at and use that money for whatever purpose they want, and then try to pay it back, right? And they don't always necessarily pay it back appropriately.
Necessarily, I was about to say, yeah, that sometimes doesn't come back.
So,
wow.
And then the unions are like, you're stealing our money. And they're like, we need the money. It's public funds. So they're like, no, it's for the employees who work for this jurisdiction to have a retirement and medical coverage when it's pension time. But they just fail to realize it, right? So.
Well.
Getting ready to legally argue that your income is not your property. They're putting forward bills which say non-citizens can be police officers and prosecutors.
So
they're passing
two things there. Two things there. One, when they say, back this up just a moment. Passing an unconstitutional income tax is, again, a Fifth Amendment thing, right? And when they put bills forward that say non-citizens can be police officers, it's the same thing with having non-citizens on juries or letting non-citizens vote in the first place. Ireland has constituent-only voting, right? Only citizens of Ireland can vote in Irish elections, correct?
Yes.
And there are no non-citizen police officers or prosecutors in Ireland, correct?
No. you have to be a full citizen to, proper Irish passport, so on, citizenship, all the bells and whistles, as they would say. Yeah.
Right. So you can have those who are failing to assimilate into your culture be part of juries, be part of law enforcement, and be prosecutors. That's a problem. It's a big problem, right? So,
What they say, not being sarcastic when I say this, but is there any background checks when you're becoming a police officer?
yes, there's a massive background check. Sometimes it takes years to get through the process.
But how are these guys slipping through the cracks? So these non-citizens.
Sanctuary jurisdictions. We've talked about sanctuary jurisdictions in the past.
Yeah.
So if you have sanctuary jurisdictions, if you are a resident, you qualify, and resident doesn't necessarily mean citizen.
Yes, but isn't it down to the agency then to do a proper background check, make sure all the forms are filled out properly? He is a citizen.
Right. It's a violation of federal supremacy when you're in violation of 8 USC. Right. Immigration.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, it sounds a bit kind of unusual to have a non-citizen as a police officer.
It's more than a little unusual, right? Because you're giving them the constituency. You're saying we're going to give the use of lethal force to non-citizens. Why would you give the use of lethal force to non-citizens? That seems functionally unsafe.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'll be honest with you. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when these police officers are being found out, what has happened?
Depends on the jurisdiction. If it's a jurisdiction that is a sanctuary jurisdiction, nothing happens.
They just remain police officers.
Yeah, why wouldn't they? State law says it's cool.
Well,
the city or county says it's cool. We can do this.
Okay.
And then they just do it. And then the federal government comes in and says, you can't do that. And they're like, well, our rules say we can. So they just do it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And that goes back to, like I was telling you before, where you have jurisdictions that are releasing people, OR, of their own recognizance prior to dates when they should be released, so they don't have to release them when they have final removal orders to the federal agencies that are responsible to pick them up and ensure that their final deportation order is honored and they go. Right?
Yes.
All right, let's get back to Mr. Branca.
Not your property. They're putting...
Ooh, that one. Getting ready to legal argue your income isn't your property. That's a problem. Right? Again, we talk about socialism, right? And that's functionally what that is, right? It's going to force a kind of equity where we manage all of your money and all of your life, and you're not allowed to make any decisions at all. So.
Yes. Just trust in the state.
Forward bills which say non-citizens can be police officers and prosecutors. They're passing the second consecutive record tax increase. They're ignoring clear signs of fraud in daycare, home health care, Medicare, Medicaid. They're refusing federal inquiry into their voter rolls.
Right. Very few states have returned the voter rolls to the federal government. They're still having a problem with that in almost every state. So,
but are they legally obliged to do it, or is it kind of more of a you send a letter and hope they do it?
No, they're legally obliged to do it. They must do it, and they're choosing to not to.
And how many states have done it so far? What is it, 16 states?
12 or 16, something like that. We'll find out. They're going to go over it because it's pretty significant to the message he's trying to send here, right? So, and then nothing to reform public educations, even though test scores have declined. Like they're not trying to. And remember, we did the Washington State thing where those people are making gobs and gobs of money, but they just can't seem to solve the problem. We need the scissors.
One shocking statistic I remember when we were looking up that at the same time is that 40% of the kids are below average when it comes to mathematics, reading and writing, and so on.
Yeah, that's not acceptable.
In the same place. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy.
That's horrible. Well, it's a captured education system. Since the mid-90s, we've had pretty social Marxist kind of takeover of our education. It's been pretty bad. So,
yeah.
They're doing nothing to reform public education, even though testing scores have declined. They're putting forward legislation which prevents corporate entities from organizing ballot initiatives, but fully exempts unions.
Right, we talked about that. When you have unions, you have a jurisdiction and its employees on either side of the bargaining table. But at the end of the day, they both work for the same entity. So there's no difference there, right?
Mm.
They're asking for money from an entity that wants to give them more money and benefits and things, right? There's no quid pro quo. It's just, hey, I want more money. And they're like, cool, because then we can get more money in these funds that we're looking to dig into, right? If I give you more money and I can put more into a retirement fund that I can then take money out of because I can manipulate it, like that's crooked. That's just crooked.
Yeah.
So
It's very, very bad.
Organized
Very bad
ballot
indeed.
initiatives. If you vote blue, no matter who, this is what you can expect. By the way, California's looking at the same thing. Half the people in California would support a one-time tax on the ultra wealthy.
right, and the problem with that is we don't know who is a constituent, like who's a citizen and who's not a citizen that's voting, because they just send out ballots. So
Anybody believe it would really be a one-time tax? I like the way this account put it. Just one little tax. Just one little tax, all right, bro? Just one. I swear that's all I need to get me over. Man, look, I need it, all right? One small tax and I'll straighten my shit out. Yeah, no, it's different this time. I mean it.
sounds like a dope fiend, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
I just need one more hit, man. Just give me one more hit. I'll be.
Yeah, it's only or the best of all, this is only a temporary measure.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's always temporary.
Yeah.
It's always short
It's always
term.
temporary.
Since February of 1913, just a couple of years.
Yeah.
We just needed to get
Look,
back on our feet.
It's only temporary. It's only a century or two. That's all.
You know, just a couple of years here and there. What's it matter? Your parents, your grandparents, and your great parents have all great grandparents. Oh, and their parents have also been affected by it. Yeah. 5 generations of just temporary.
It's temporary.
Yeah, for a little time.
Listen to me, all right? I've got a problem and I need help. I need just a little tax this once. One effing time, man. All I'm asking. I'll cut spending. I'll put the dumb shit aside. I won't ask again. I'll be straight. You just need to float me one last time.
Never that way.
Yeah.
One last time.
No.
One last time. And where's all that money going? It's all just being stolen. 60% of illegal alien households are on welfare. 60%. Usually.
Right. So you cannot have open borders in a welfare state. You can't. You can't.
No.
You can't. So
because the balance sheet doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Like you said, you went to the post the other day. You just were trying to send a parcel. You have non-Irish speaking, non-English speaking people in line getting their dole at the post office.
Yes.
Like
they were using Google Translate as well. There was a guy ahead of me. He was at the counter.
Mm-hmm.
And in fairness to the nice lady behind the counter, she was trying to explain to him that he can't get paid today. He gets paid the following day. You know, simple concept.
Right.
Of course, thanks to Google Translate, they've finally figured out a simple concept like that. And I was going, how did they get out the dole forms to begin with? Because somebody had to fill out those forms for them because they don't have enough English to even communicate.
Right.
And it's just as you say, you can't have open borders and a welfare state, but
right.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of open borders here.
Yeah, it's not going great. All right, here we go.
More than one program. That's where the money is going. And of course, this kind of chicanery is not just the stealing of the Medicaid money, stealing of our tax money. The same kind of thievery is happening with our voter rolls, creating, in effect, a political tyranny in our nation. Between 2022 and 2024, the U.S. processed 14 million online voter registrations, none of which required proof of citizenship. So who's voting in our elections? You know,
that's 7% of the population.
No, it's not just American citizens. You know that this 60% of illegal households want to make sure the money keeps flowing in. There's nothing preventing them from registering to vote online. You think they're not voting?
Right, because they can vote to take. They can do that. They don't have the constituencies good in their mindset at all. It's if I can vote to keep the money coming, I'm going to vote to keep the money coming. Right?
Of course they are. I think everybody would vote to keep the money coming. It's human nature in general, isn't it?
Self-interest, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
States like Colorado, they don't even have to go to a voting place. The ballot is just mailed to them and they mail it back. Again, with no check of citizenship. And when the Trump administration tries to check this, they're denied unlawfully by these states. So much So much for obeying the law. Harmeet Dillon said 16 states have turned over their voter rolls so far. You know, she asked for 50. In the data they have from
Yeah, she asked for all 50 states to supply their voter rolls to make sure that they can ensure that only citizens are voting.
those states, they found tens of thousands of non-citizens on the voting roll, hundreds of thousands of dead people. So a dead person on the voting rolls in Colorado would be mailed a ballot. You think it goes unvoted? That's in just 16 states. And those are the states, those are red states. Those are the states who offered up the data.
Right, they complied with federal supremacy and sent the thing that they were supposed to send to the federal government. And the federal government said, "Oh no, this is real bad." And these are the states that are not attempting to hide. They're like, "We screwed up, and there's a lot of people here that shouldn't be, but go ahead, comb the records, let us know what's up. Like, we'll work with you." So that's
that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's 34 states that are like, you know what? Nah, we're not going to do it. Nah, we'll just be in violation of federal law. It's fine. We're good.
So you know it's going to have the least amount of these problems. Imagine what the blue states look like. It'll be tens of millions of non-citizens on the rolls.
Well, that extrapolation might be a bit much for Mr. Branca there, but
I understand it's going to be a lot, but right. I won't say it's tens of millions, but it'll be a lot. But
it could be.
It could be a lot. Look, as you said, look, these are red states. They already have hundreds of thousands of people and so on.
But 1 10 of million is bad, right?
Yeah.
That's not great either.
Of millions of dead people being mailed ballots. And then one last thing to share with all of you, because I'm going to be flying soon, going to the airport. You may have heard what the TSA lines are like because the Democrats are not paying DHS. Bill Mulligan suggests, in terms of public opinion, Dems may soon be at risk of overplaying their hand on blocking DHS funding. ICE has largely been out of the headlines, the ICE immigration enforcement. TSA will miss their second paycheck on Friday, and airport lines are likely to get worse heading into spring break travel.
So that means people who work for TSA will not be able to get to work because they will not be able to fuel their vehicles, and then they will not be able to pay their rent or their house note because they're not getting paid. Now, you asked me earlier about this, and yes, once the budget comes back online, then those employees of TSA will get their back pay. But in the interim, they're going to have a problem, right? Yeah. Because not every landlord's going to say, yeah, you can wait until you get paid. It might be, hey, I need the money or I'm going to kick you out, right? Because there's going to be leniency to absolute written rule.
Oh, yeah, I would say that most landlords would be pretty reasonable, but it's still an awful position to be in.
Right.
But have no money coming in.
And like
not just for your rent, but you also need food and so on.
Right. And like Patrick McCallum says, you need to have a savings account that can save you for at least 3 months.
Yes.
You need at least 3 months back just in case they don't pay.
Always.
Yep. So.
As I say, I'm a great fan of Dave Ramsey. He talks a lot of sense. And I do feel sorry for an awful lot of these employees. I say a lot of them are pretty screwed on and they would have a certain amount of savings for a rainy day.
Well, yeah.
But if it goes on too long, then you run into interest and penalties and everything else, as you say, car loans or whatever else that
right.
they
and
might
a
have.
huge percentage of people can't even handle $1,000 variance. If there's $1,000 hit in the month of July, they're scrambling for months. You know what I'm saying? Because there was an interesting or they're not saving. Go ahead.
There was an interesting survey done in Ireland by MABS, it's a money management agency. And every year, around Christmas time, they do a survey and it gets released in January. And it shows every year, ever since MABS has been set up, nearly every single year since 2000, I think it's 2002, 2003, roughly, but every single year, 80% of people do not have 500 euros in their bank account.
Yep, and that is bad.
For a rainy day.
Yep. All right, here we
go. That's 80% of people.
Yeah,
they can't handle 500 euro.
Yeah, it's a variance that you should be able to tolerate.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here we go.
That's when the general public will start noticing and paying attention. We got a small taste of it at some airports this past weekend. It's only going to get worse. It's what eventually caused Dems to fold during the 43-day shutdown last year. Do not underestimate the power of long TSA lines spreading on social media. I had friends who don't pay any attention to politics text me this weekend asking if their airports were going to have issues.
Yes.
None of them even knew there was a shutdown prior to last weekend. It makes me want to pull my hair out that they don't stay informed, but more people will now be paying attention and looking someone claim. Well, I certainly hope so. That would be awesome.
So what happens is that until it affects you, you don't pay attention to it, right? But if you're attempting to travel,
I think that's human nature in general,
all
unfortunately.
right, well, for sure. But it's a partial shutdown. It has to do with Department of Homeland Security. But TSA and FEMA and a lot of other agencies like the Coast Guard are up under that, right? So
Yeah.
if they're attempting to hit ICE or CBP or anything under that umbrella, they're not going to hit them because they're considered essential workers. So all of their operations are going to continue to be mounted and functioning, whereas those who need Federal Emergency Management Agency assistance or those that want to travel and TSA can't staff their positions, you're going to have a problem, right? It's just, it's going to be bad. So anywho, so that's Washington state taxes. That is voter rolls and illegal having voting for places which shouldn't.
Yeah, we covered quite a lot of bases there, really, didn't we? More than just income tax.
Well, and I thought that Mr. Branca's presentation was the best. I searched probably 15, 20 videos, and this one seemed to be the most concise. If we want to get into the Washington state tax thing, Brandy Cruz is undivided. We'll probably provide something in the show notes so you can get a more complete view of that.
She's always very, very much on the pulse when it comes to that scenario.
Yeah, with Washington State and the Pacific Northwest, she's amazing. So, you got anything for the good of the people, Patrick?
As I said, and once a tax comes in, it never leaves.
Yeah, they don't like giving up their money. Again, the balance sheets have to balance. They're going to take from you till they do.
Yes.
All right. For Patrick McCallum, I am Alex Johansson. We are the A&P Gents. Like the like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things, and help us beat the algorithm. We are out.